Sawubona ke mbukeli, research done by Ornico, a brand intelligence organization, shows an increase in the number of people on all social media platforms in South Africa. Akungabateki ukuthi i-social media seyingcenye yempilo yethu. Kepha ke wenda njani uma ke uyathola ukuthi isithombe sakho noma ke umbone lo uposta ku social media so usetshenziswe kwenda imali ngaphandle kwemvumo yakho? Njengenjwayelo ke mbukeli, langalimbeke Prudence Zimuto wathumela isithombe sakhe ke ku Facebook. Wathi ke yena ke bekadlalela phela nebangani bakhe adeketisana nabo. Kepha ke lokwalandzela lapho kwamshiya abambe wangephansi.
All right, so which picture am I gonna post today? Okay, this one. Let's see. I wonder how many likes I'm gonna get on this one. I posted the picture on Instagram and on Facebook, and the photographer also posted the picture on his Facebook and also Instagram.
Prudence bekatifunela nje ema likes. Kepha lokwalandzela lapho kwamshiya abambe wangephansi.
So a friend of mine sent me a message, and then he is like to me, Prudence, you don't tell us that you are famous.
Watfola kanjalo ke kuthi sithombe sakhe besisetikipeni letithengiswa esitolo setimphahla. Kepha waba nekungabata. Loku ke kwagucuka nakafika mathupha kuleso sitolo.
To my surprise, they were there. There was like the whole pile of t-shirts that had my face on them.
Prudence waphinze wasibona leskipa sigcokwe kumabonakudze. Inchazelo lekayitfola kubaphathi besitolo yamshiya ashaqekile.
Prudence speaking, hello?
Hi Prudence, it's Sonia here, how are you?
I'm good, Tanya, how are you?
Lenkulumo yaxoshwa nguPrudence ngesikhathi akhuluma nalomunye webaphathi elucingweni.
Legally in South Africa, on social media, if you don't put privacy settings on any of your photographs, anybody can use them, okay, unless you actually have put privacy settings, which you haven't done, okay? And actually South Africa is the worst because they don't have any restrictions on these things. There's no restrictions on, I mean, if you were living in America, you've got every leg to stand on, but living in South Africa, there's no restrictions. We're happy to give you 2,000 Rand, as compensation because you've, because obviously we want to compensate you, and I think that I don't know if you would be happy with that.
She actually offered me 2,000 Rand, of which I turned it down. She offered me 2,000 Rand, and I'm like, no, it's 2,000 Rand, really? Yeah.
Wathi ngekuphatha indzaba yemmeli inkulumo yashintsha.
But I don't know, but Prudence, I don't understand why you need to get involved with lawyers. I don't understand. I mean, we've spoken about this. I don't understand why would you want to get lawyers involved?
But surely that is wrong. You're not supposed to just go on the internet and get people's pictures and use them. I mean, that alone is, I don't think it's right at all.
Yeah, but I told you it wasn't, I know, and I told you it wasn't done intentionally at all. It wasn't, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I do understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying.
We never did, there was no intent to do any harm to you or anything like that, and it was an innocent mistake.
Let me just find out, you say the person who printed this t-shirt, the person who gave you this picture, his name was?
His name was Farouk.
Farouk. Do you by any chance have Farouk's cell phone number? Because I think that's the person that we need to be dealing with right now. That's the person that we need to be speaking to.
Yeah, but it's not really, because they print for us, okay? So they did the artwork for us, and we we accepted it and approved it without checking, thinking it was coming from the right source. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sibe sesichumana nalomunye umphathi wakulesitolo. Yena ke uthite akusiso lesitolo lesenda lesikipa. Basitfola kuma suppliers abo. Isupplier yona ithite isenda licwaningo ngekuthi lesithombe satfolakala kanjani.
Well, do you think you deserve any recourse?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I mean, they've been selling the t-shirt for 120 each piece. And I mean, this is in the whole of South Africa. And this is my face that they're using to sell it. So I feel like somehow I do deserve something.
Tinkhundla tekuchumana ke mbukeli tinetivumelwano, imigomo nemibandzela lethite. Ngephambi kwekufaka leso sithombe noma lowo mbono, ngabe uyawati yini emalungelo akho? Zinhle Dlamini Mugabe, yilungelo lakho.
Hayi ke mbukeli khuluma ke kabanti ke ngemalungelo akho ku social media. Asimukele ke Tiffany Malcolm. She's involved in social media training and copywriting. We also have Conrad David. He is the founder of #SouthAfrica, a digital media agency. Ladies, gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
I mean, we all know that, the social media or the internet is a wild, wild west. People post stuff, pictures, videos, quotes on social media, not knowing what that material will be used for. But first of all, do you want to comment on the insert?
I'm quite frankly horrified at what's taken place here. The young lady Prudence certainly does have a case for copyright infringement against both the retailer and the manufacturer, who said it was an innocent mistake in their phone call, but seemed to have made no effort whatsoever to reach out to her to obtain permission to reproduce her image.
Yeah.
So she's certainly entitled to, if not damages, which are very, very hard to prove, a reasonable royalty, significantly above 2,000 Rand, I would say.
Okay. But the privacy settings argument that has been raised by the retail shop, does it hold?
Well, in South Africa, we are encouraged by the courts, based on case law, to self-regulate. In other words, not to put anything public that we wouldn't want the public to see. But what Prudence may well have done is posted the picture with friends-only privacy settings and then had those not adhered to by a friend or family member who may then have shared it beyond that point.
Yeah.
So privacy, you can't argue that she should have made her privacy settings stricter. She is the owner of that copyright,
right.
And regardless of her privacy settings, they can't just be used in an unauthorized way.
Sure. Now, Conrad, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think, to make it short and simple, I think Legit needs to pay back the money, as short as it sounds. Facebook, yes, has the rights. As soon as you post something on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it becomes public domain. But as soon as a third party, like this clothing company, has used it for commercial purposes, then they need to pay the recipient, whether the person publicly knows or not. And that's the simple case of it.
Okay. Social media is a very public platform. So if I post material on social media, who owns that content?
Well, you own it, but as soon as you share it on those platforms, it also becomes public use for social media platforms. So, for example, you'd be happy if your post was shared over 1 million times. You're not going to try and get some sort of cash for that. You'd be quite satisfied with those retweets. But as soon as there's monetary value attached to it, that's when you can start raising a case.
I mean, if it's been shared over 1 million times, how would I be able to trace who has shared it and what purpose he'll be using it?
Yeah, well, if it's shared on public platforms and it stays online, then that's completely fine. And the cool thing with social media, you can retract and see who shared things originally, from the first person all the way to all the other people that share it thereafter.
Okay. I mean, I may own the content which has been shared on postal media, but then Facebook or the social media site owns the copyrights. Can the social media company then give a third party the rights to my own content?
They don't own the copyright. So Facebook or Instagram or any other social media have been assigned a license by you as the owner of the content. So you've assigned Facebook a license. That's what the T's and C's say, that you've given them a license to use it. Okay. That means they don't own it, you own it, but they can pretty much do whatever they want with it without compensating you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think the recourse for this lady is then?
I would get an IP lawyer who understands social really, really well.
Yeah.
I would get them to represent her. From what I understand, she would need to put the two, so the original image and the T-shirt side by side and apart, and would need to prove infringement, which is quite clear. I mean, it's a substantive
Yep.
reproduction, and I would go after a reasonable royalty.
Okay.
Yeah, for them coming forward and say, look, we'll give you 2,000 rand, so they're already admitting,
Yeah.
but the value that they're trying to give to her is not reasonable. You know, you can get 10 times that value just for you speaking for a second or two online if a company buys that information. So she's entitled to, if they had to go look at all the particular sales for that quantity SQ number of that item, and they can look at a percentage. But it's between Prudence and Legit to resolve. But I think Legit needs to just confess and say, we apologize, and do it properly. Don't go down this hole, guys. You're just going to kick yourself and create more mess as a corporate company. So dealing with crisis management, deal with it, offer settlement case, and move forward, and then put proper procedures in place. When sourcing images, have we gotten permission? Do we going to let the person know this is what we're going to use the image for? Clear and simple. It's the same like with news. If this segment is used, or if a video I've taken on social media pops up on the news, the SABC just pretty much credits me. As long as there's credit and there's awareness, then that's fine. But there was no form of credit put in place here.
And no preemptive attempt to get authorization from Prudence before using the image. So what worries me a bit is the blame shifting. It wasn't us, it was the manufacturer. It wasn't the manufacturer, it was a third party. You know, there's a lot of who did the image come from, where did it come from, and no sort of, whether the mistake was innocent or not, it's more than a mistake, it's copyright infringement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've also been a victim of such. Well, it's almost a similar matter, because somebody had screen grabbed me reading the news live on air, and then they used that image to promote their so-called forex brokering companies, and he made lots and lots of money out of it. So what then, back to this case, would it make a difference then if the T-shirts were reproduced for no financial gain whatsoever?
Well,
I mean,
it's whether that person wants
doesn't
to
that
give
change
permission.
the dynamics of the case? I mean, the fact that an offer of 2,000 rand were made, but then, as you said, that it's not really about the whole case per se, but it's about the offer being not reasonable.
Yeah, whether it's used for charity or not, if that person personally feels, and if someone reproduces my information, it's a different story, but Prudence is not happy with the situation. So this individual, you need to take it as that case, and be not happy, then the corporate needs to abide by that.
Yeah.
But there's also an interesting element for you as a public figure. A lot of people might think that because you're a public figure, then it's in the public interest to reproduce images of you.
Right.
But you have rights to have your image used as you want it used as well.
Right.
Even if you do use your own image for commercial gain, you have what's called personality rights. So you have the rights to determine how your image is used, whether for commercial gain or not.
Right.
And if Prudence's image was used in a non-commercial way, it would still be infringement, but it wouldn't necessarily be practical for her to sue.
Sure.
Because what would she be able to get back as recompense financially if there wasn't any financial gain?
All right. Now, before you click on that post button on social media, are you even aware of what your rights are? Siyabuya kumbukeni Mvakaleli Kev. Asikomukele futhi mbukeli. Namhla ke sikhuluma ke ngamalungelo akho ku social media. To enlighten us on this issue, we have Tiffany Markham. She's involved in social media training and copywriting. We also have Conrad David from #South Africa. Now, if you have any questions or concerns with regards to this topic, you're in capable hands. Contact us using the details on your screens right now. Well, they'll be posted. There we go. 011-7146-918 is the number to call. So we do invite your calls. You can also get us on Twitter and on Facebook to voice your views. All right, we continue with this discussion. I mean, would it make any difference? I mean, under what circumstances should I say can I claim loss or damage to my product or my image that I posted on social media?
I think if it's caused you any personal damages, then sure you can. But you can't just blame it on you using my image and it caused me to go into depression. You got to have a strong case here. I think that the straightforward case is you use my image without my permission. I need reimbursement for that.
Yeah.
Can I prove loss or damage though?
What has Prudence lost and what damages has it caused her?
Right.
You know, if she's willing to, if she has started her own clothing brand, she could consider that this is taking away revenue from my business. So she has to have a strong case from that point of view. But she still has a winning case nonetheless.
Okay. So how do I go about copywriting the material that I post on social media?
You don't need to. Copyright subsists automatically. So as soon as as the author of the image, as soon as you create it, copyright subsists in it. It's vested automatically. There's no need to register a copyright on a particular image, photo, anything that you create, provided that you've not been paid by somebody else to create that thing. So the person who paid for it or commissioned it is the owner of it, automatically. What you then have to do is defend your copyright. So you don't register it, but you do have to defend it after having created it.
Okay. So for those who may not be on the know about the privacy settings, how do I go about doing that? Making it private?
I would make your any social media settings as private as possible. There's a privacy section on Facebook under settings where you can make your settings as open or as public as you like, or as private as you like. And I would go as private as you can, because remember that once you've posted a picture and set it for only your friends to see, you would hope that they would adhere to that, but they may not. So as soon as it's online, anyone can do anything with it, and then you then need to fight it afterwards, which isn't always worth it. So unless you have a high profile and your images and the things that you create need to be in the public forum in order to be good for your brand, I would make your settings as private and fastidious as possible.
I mean, the big question then would be perhaps, and I guess that's the argument that can be raised by this retail company involved in this, in all of this. How can you claim privacy on a very public platform?
It comes back to the point of them just using it for commercial purposes. You know, I'm someone who always advocates people, you know, once you're on social media, once you're on the internet, you're in the public domain. It's in public space. Your stuff can be popping up in Japan or in India or in the USA. So that's why you jump on social media, to connect with the world. As soon as you start saying, like, every time I post something, I don't want people to do anything, you're already placing yourself in the public environment. We've seen things like certain ministers with videos that circulated on private chats. So once you press submit and once you press share, it's out there for public use. So joining social media means you're willing for you're open to public scrutiny. You know, I've been publicly sharing my stuff over 8 years online. I've had public scrutiny. I've also had good accolades come from it and negative. And that's what you got to take with it. You got to take the punches that comes with it. I'm sure as a celebrity, you understand yourself that you might share things and then you'll have a certain group of people that might not like it. That's how it is in the public domain.
Is it then plausible to claim invasion of privacy on social media?
If you share it, it's not private.
Okay.
Well, it depends.
What if then I share it on a closed group?
I think then
within my friends, within my family, within my colleagues?
Then it's not necessarily a copyright issue. It's a privacy issue.
Okay.
So in South Africa, we don't have social media legislation, but we do have privacy legislation. We've got POPI, and in the EU, there's new legislation that's just come out now, the GDPR. So yeah, then you would, if it was opening you up to anything unlawful, fraudulent, any kind of harassment, defamation, that sort of thing. We've seen that a lot in the news in South Africa in recent years, with people posting what they thought was private content in a WhatsApp group, that going viral, and all sorts of real-world implications for their lives and for their families' lives. We've seen it again and again. So that would be an invasion of privacy, absolutely.
So how do I seek recourse for what I could say a violation of my own rights?
A really good IP attorney would be your first starting point, I would say.
Okay. So what's the role then of terms and conditions on social media platforms?
Well, I think people need to start reading before they press accept and sign in. They need to read to be like, you're entering this open platform, your content is going to be shared. Even if you're in a private group, look, there was this dentist in the United Kingdom. He shared this cool video with his friend about him lip syncing a track. That friend then just publicly shared it on his profile. That video ended up getting 24 million views. Ooh. That guy is now a celebrity in the dentist sphere. So you got to see that, are you going to use it and see it from a negative light, or are you going to use social media for the benefit that it is? And I've always been an advocate of using it for good and using social media platforms where you can generate you revenue and you profit. I think if Prudence can, if she really wants to kick this up a notch, she should actually launch her own Shopify or Facebook Marketplace store where she's selling her own T-shirts, or maybe partner with Legit now going forward. You know, let's look at something positive.
Right.
But let's see how it turns out in the legal stance of things.
All right, Tiffany?
I think also for those watching, it's important to keep in mind that Facebook and Instagram and many of the social platforms try and make it as easy as possible for their T's and C's to be in understandable language. It's not all teeny weeny fine print that is full of legal jargon. Facebook in particular makes very clear in their T's and C's that you are assigning them a license to use your copyright for no compensation at all. So really read the stuff.
Okay.
Don't just press accept and then post the picture because you're in a hurry. They try and make it easy for us to understand the language. Let's try and read the language. And
So basically, I'm signing my life away, and Facebook can use whatever product I post on social media for their own commercial purposes?
yes, yes, they can. Not for a third party.
Not
So
for
they
a third
can't print it
party,
on a
right.
T-shirt. But Facebook can use your selfie to advertise Facebook ads.
Okay.
Absolutely, you've given them the right to do that. Non-exclusively, but you've given them a license.
Right, right. Well, according to the latest social media statistics compiled by Oniko, there are 21 million Facebook users in South Africa. Are you one of them? Do you know what your rights are and how you can exercise those rights? Well, do stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Mhlawumbe ke nawe kuke kwakwehlela ke lokwehlela ePrudence lapha ke ku-insert. Singathanza kuva indzaba yakho. Tincingo tethu solo tivuliwe and our participation numbers are on your screens right now. Ungasithumelela futhi ne-SMS noma ke uchumane nathi ku-social media, ku-Twitter na ku-Facebook. We still continue with this conversation. I want to pick your brain on these terms called non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, worldwide license, fully paid.
What that
What do
means,
those terms mean?
in a nutshell, that means Facebook doesn't owe you anything. So in a nutshell, it means that you have given Facebook a license to use your image for free, worldwide, without having to pay you anything, and they can transfer that to an appropriate party as well.
Okay.
You don't get anything for it. It's without compensation to you.
All right. Conrad?
Yeah, it's,
Can I
I
comment to
share
those terms?
those same sentiments. You know, once you accept the terms and conditions, you're abiding that you now part of this public domain, and whatever you share then gets made utilized on that platform. And if Facebook or any other major social media platform wants to use it in any certain way, if they want to use your image or your video in an ad campaign that they're running to promote Facebook, they can do so. But knowing those platforms, they will still engage with you and let you know.
Okay. So even if they launch maybe a T-shirt company still under Facebook, for instance, they still have the rights to that?
It says
What
that
would
they
you
could,
say on that
the T's and
matter?
C's say they could reproduce your image.
Yeah.
So technically speaking, if Facebook were to start a T-shirt company and they were using it to advertise Facebook, then they do have the license to use your stuff to do that.
So what's the punishment for social media offences?
Punishment for whom?
For
For
those who
infringers.
violated, yeah, for those who've
So
infringed or violated.
there are civil
your
and
rights.
criminal penalties, but you would need to go through a copyright infringement process. You'd need to prove it and prosecute it. From what I understand, an IP lawyer would have to place the two images side by side and apart and go through a factual a factual and qualitative process to prove that it's been reproduced substantially. And once that were done, then an interdict would follow. So then what that means is that Legit, in this case, would be alerted as to the fact that they were infringing copyright and told to stop. And you would then have the option of damages and or a reasonable royalty. But as we've said before, damages being exceptionally hard to prove, especially in cases like this, where Prudence may not be able to prove any sort of damage to her personal professional brand from the use of her image on a T-shirt. She would then go the route of with her IP lawyer, calculating the royalty that they felt would be fair to her.
How then would an intellectual property lawyer handle this particular case? Because South Africa doesn't have very clear social media laws.
It doesn't, but it does have IP law.
And based on the video you watched earlier on, you've got the phone call which is recorded, and you've got those emails. Those are all supporting documents showing that they do accept what they've done. They have apologized and they have offered you some monetary return.
Okay. So who has the rights of placing value on a certain product or international property that I post on social media?
I would say the courts.
But in this particular instance, who has the rights? I mean, should, Legit or that retail company offered her 2,000 Rand. So how can we determine the value of that? Can we say that it's sufficient or not?
Well, the royalty,
Under what basis?
The royalty has to be reasonable. And I think even Prudence looked at the retail value of the T-shirt and said they're selling this thing for 129 Rand or 159 Rand nationwide.
That's like 20 units
Yeah.
if it's sold.
So 2,000 Rand would seem to me to be an unreasonable offer.
I guess then the case is, I mean, the question is, what is reasonable?
You know, we work with influencers when we do digital marketing campaigns for clients, and they have certain stipulations. We charge 20,000 Rand if you want to, and we'll share 4 posts, or we'll do 1 video mentioning you. So you've got to have your guidelines on what you're willing to charge a client in this space. Seeing that this is just purely a citizen, that image has been utilized for commercial purposes, it's a unique case. So whereas it was a brand and you're an influencer where you have set guidelines and set costs in place, you're either being reimbursed for those set costs, but in this case, Prudence hasn't set that, so it's for Prudence to set what type of return she wants. Like I said, let's go back, let's look at how many numbers of these units were sold. If Legit wants to come forward with that information, and then take those units and numbers and then look at the percentage royalty. But then again, whether you sell 1 unit or 1 million, they can just offer you one set value.
Okay. So would it then be unreasonable for Prudence to claim future earnings as a result of that T-shirt? Because that retail company might as well just used her image on other products as well.
Yeah, it's whether that you just bought that one image and you paid for a set fee, and the company can use that in different variations of stuff that they want. It's up to them. But
then can she claim future earnings as a result of that?
Well, it depends. Once she engages with Legit and once they pay her a reasonable royalty, I'm hoping that whoever represents her legally has a contract in place that stipulates what they can and can't do with that image going forward from the agreement. So she would want to protect herself very, very carefully, because also now there's virality in it. Now the public is interested in this image of Prudence on the T-shirt, right? So I would hope that her lawyer would engage quite carefully on the T's and C's of what can be done with her image post the agreement about a reasonable royalty. Does that include future use?
yeah, and if there are other clothing brands that are out there that are listening to this, be smart, utilize Prudence, sign up on a small contract, take images with her and market more products. You know, work
Nice
off the trend.
opportunity for
Work
someone.
off the trend.
Yeah.
So basically the compensation can be once off.
I don't know. It would depend on the ins and outs of the case. What I think is important to keep in mind, though, is that she definitely needs to approach a legal representative of some kind. And Legit is saying to her in the call, why would you approach a lawyer? Well, why would you not? In a case like this, she needs to know her rights, ins and outs, so that she can get what she's entitled to.
Yeah.
Okay.
First step, open a docket, and in 3 months we can come back on the show and see where it went.
Yeah.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to share and comment on posts on social media, but do you know that each time you do that, you are actually exposing yourselves to all sorts of things? Give us a call right now. We'll be right back. We'll take a short break. Asikomukele futhi mbukeli sisahleli naye ke Tiffany Malcolm na Conrad David. They are here to enlighten us about how to use social media and our rights as users. I mean, intellectual property is not only confined to images. It could be quotes that I think of and then I post on social media. Can I copyright quotes?
No. Well, copyright exists in the quote when you create it. So you can't register that quote anyway. You don't need to. It exists in it by virtue of your having created it.
But it's my copyright, right?
Yes, it's yours, unless you post it on a social media platform which you've assigned rights to.
I'll give you a simple example. If, say, you want to start a clothing brand and you put a cool symbol and then underneath you write, just do it. Now, we know just do it is with Nike, and you know this, and you go and create 2 to 20 million different units and sell it. You're going to end up into trouble because you're utilizing their quote because it's been copyrighted. And that's copyrighted for sale. So on social media, if someone uses your quote, yeah, of course, you can generate benefits from that. But if there's profit for it.
Can I prove ownership of my quote then?
Yeah, if it's been posted in your profile, you screenshot in your profile, you print it out, it's used as an attachment in the court case.
I mean, how do I prove that it's actually mine? I didn't copy and pasted it from someone else.
Well, then if that's been the case, then the whole case can flip around against you. But in this particular situation, we're talking about an image of an individual. So this is her nose, her hair, her eyes, her
Recognizable
skin.
as her.
Yeah.
So the same dynamics apply in terms of images?
Yes, so copyright vests in anything that you're the author of. So an image, a song, a lyric, a quote, a piece of writing, it exists. So let me give you an example. From my industry, I'm a writer. When I'm teaching about social media or writing about social media, I charge clients for my writing. Because the client pays me to do that, they are the owner of the copyright because they've commissioned me to create it for them. But if I create something that I'm not commissioned by anyone to do, that I create for myself, and I put it out there in the world, it belongs to me exclusively. If I put it on Facebook, it belongs to me, but Facebook has the right to do certain things with
Whatever
it.
it can. Okay.
Yeah, when we're looking at production in videos, you know, now that everyone's starting to become content creators on their own, when you're watching something on TV, even if they're walking past a tree or location, you'll notice at the end there's credits. We like to thank the city of Johannesburg.
Right.
All of that is all by under copyrights and laws.
Okay. Let's take our first call. Sina Josephina, ulapha ke David Nsakumelo hlene sawubona.
How are you?
Fine, how are you, Josephina?
I'm okay. Oh, okay. I have a Facebook account. Okay, I've noticed there's somebody else who has my picture on his account, but with a different name. Do I have a right, or can I do something about it, or what's going on there?
All right, thank you so much for your call.
It's a fair question, and I've heard that one before. People taking your image, pretending to be you, or using your picture and putting their own name on it. She would absolutely...
Or creating fake accounts.
Absolutely. She should go to Facebook to report that her image is being used in a misrepresentative way. And Facebook would be able to see whose account used the image first, in this case hers, because she's the originator of the image, and should shut down the other account.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you could do is on your app, on your phone, on the computer, you go to your settings or support, and then you can log a trouble ticket. Let Facebook know that this particular person is impersonating me. I've had it in the past where people done that and created accounts about me, and in a matter of an hour or less, it's been removed. So in that particular case, that is someone misinterpreting you and fraudulently lying about you. We've had many cases in South Africa where we had to report certain ministerial accounts and government accounts where people were using a person's image and then asking them for money. So that can be taken down immediately. So you've got a good stance there.
Facebook takes that stuff very seriously.
Yeah.
So there are all sorts of little settings that you can press, report, block, and you explain why you're reporting it, and Facebook will take it up.
Yeah. And actually, I've received a Facebook friend request from
yourself?
From so-called Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the country.
Lucky
I'm
you. Lucky
no,
you.
I just ignored it. Okay, so in that particular instance, then, if that person, a fraudster, then takes my picture and create a fake account and then starts making use of my images or whatever I've posted on social media, then, I mean, it's very difficult tracing that person.
Well, Facebook would have an easier time tracing that person than you would, because they've created the account on Facebook and would need to have provided Facebook with a certain amount of information in order to open the account. But yes, if they're a non-existent person, if the account belongs to a group of people or is some kind of a bot, then you would have a hard time tracing.
Yeah, we can always try and track a person's IP address to their physical phone or their location, but a lot goes into that. So that's why I try and work and communicate directly with Facebook or with Twitter, report it. It gets removed, and they're very big on that. That's how the US elections got manipulated. That's right now in South Africa. Facebook's working a lot with our government in trying to reduce fake accounts from popping up. So report it, and it can be removed quite fast.
But then is there a way of claiming compensation, even if Facebook has decided to shut that account down? Can I claim compensation as a result of him making money out of my image?
It's a very gray area, and I don't think you could initially. At first, being real world, it'll be very hard to claim compensation unless you find that individual and take it up in a court of law where that person has actually taken money from individuals. You've got a list of all the people that have given money to it. So it's quite a process into it. But it can be done. But best is to get that account shut down. And the only types of compensation you can get is by you building up that revenue again on your own.
Okay.
You would also want to screen grab any instances that you see of your image being used in a fraudulent way, so that even once the account is shut down, you still have evidence of that content being online.
Okay. Can I lose a copyright to my image?
can you lose a copyright to an image you created?
That I created, yeah.
If you assign it to a social media platform, you could lose exclusive right to it.
Okay.
But you can't lose copyright unless you sell it, unless somebody commissions you to create it. So if a client commissions me to design something for them, I lose copyright to it as soon as they pay me for it.
Okay, so basically if I take a professional photo and then I pay that photographer, can they lose that copyright?
Yes, because you bought it from them. Then
I
you
bought
are the
it from
owner
them.
of the copyright, correct?
So even if I don't credit them,
You've compensated for that for that
it's
image.
yours. You don't need to credit them. I mean, they like you to. Photographers and designers do like you to credit them for their creative work. But once you have commissioned the photograph of yourself and paid for it, it belongs to you.
okay. Nyalo ke sasa lethu lekugcina ke mbukeli siyabuya khona nyalo. Nyalo ke sesiyayicucumbela ke silungisela kuyivala inkulumo yethu. Let's take our next caller. Sinalungelo lapha ekhaya elisha. Sakumule lihleleni sawubona.
Good afternoon, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. This is a very interesting topic that you brought today, ne?
Yeah.
But then I would like to ask a question to the panel in particular, ne? I'm a model, but ne? Here in Cape Town. I'm basically under an agent, ne? But now the problem that I have in particular is with regards to my portfolio, okay? That the agent has photos of me, and also I have photos on my site as well. But now the question that I want to know from the panel is, in particular, what happens in a case where the agent has got a clause in a contract that says you cannot go to another agent, but at the same time, the agent that has got a clause on the contract you in particular, and then you get another agent that is interested in using your portfolio, but then you cannot leave this one. What happens in that scenario? What steps can I take, or what can I do in that scenario? Thank you very much, Simpiwe.
All right, Lungelo, thank you so much for your call. That's a very interesting question. How would you answer that, Tiffany?
There's a good chance that the agent who currently represents him paid for the headshot images to be taken for his portfolio, or at least were commissioned to do so, which means there's going to be a question about who owns those pictures. Does he own the right to his own image, or is that owned by the agency? As far as I understand, whether or not he can move to another agency depends on the terms of his agreement with the current agency. That's not really an IP issue. It's a restraint issue. So he would need to look at what he said he would or would not do in terms of leaving them, and whether he's restrained from engaging with other agencies. But in terms of the copyright or the IP, the intellectual property issue, it would really depend who paid for the images. What is interesting, though, is that currently at the moment, as far as I understand, there is a bill which is on its way to being approved in Parliament regarding professional performers and their rights to their own image. So that is happening as I sit here in Parliament at the moment. Steps have been made towards protecting professional performers' rights to their own image.
Okay. I mean, it raises a different dynamic into the whole conversation, Conrad, as to I do have a contract with a modeling agency, so then who owns that particular image? Is it me, or is it the agency by virtue of them having paid me?
You know, you got to read the terms and conditions of your contract. You know, that's one of the reasons why Michael Jackson was wealthy, because he owned the rights for his music, and even though he had the recording companies. So if you partnered with the modern agency, they wooed you, said, come through, we'll take photographs with you, then they utilized it. They're a business at the end of the day, and they were smart with that. So you need to understand that if someone's taking your pictures, you sign in a contract that they can use your image to promote you, and if monetary values were paid to them, then you are probably going to get a percentage of that. So it's all part of your contract.
Read the fine print.
Read the fine print,
Read the
guys,
fine
or
print.
take your own pictures yourself and share it, you know. It's all about, we're coming to a society now where everyone's becoming their own little business, their own entities. We're cutting out the middleman of agencies and companies and production companies, and where you're the content creator and you can hold the return on your revenue. So be smart about that.
And we live in an era of personal brands, a person becoming a brand on his or on her own.
Exactly.
All right, let's now take a look at Facebook messages. Ra says, this is shocking to find out. But furthermore, what's even worse is that she's no different from a professional model, so she should have gotten paid accordingly. Koketo says, popular retail clothes shop must help her because Prudence created a nice T-shirt and everyone liked that T-shirt. So let's stop taking some other people's things without their consent. Albert says, good afternoon. Anyone who has betrayed on social media can open a case at the nearest police station. So if other people stole your details on Facebook, you can also sue them because they have violated your rights. This is Albert Maffa. Ms. V says her rights were violated. Of course, putting a picture on public or social media does not give them the rights to use her image for whatever form of charity nor advertisement without her consent. She should be paid, period. All right, let's take another caller. Sina Itumeleng ulapha eKatlehong. Sakumula Itumeleng.
Yebo njani?
Siyaphila kunjani baba?
Okay, mina ngithumele ngathi so.
Siyabonga, welcome.
So bengifuna ukubuza ukuthi kuye kwaba nenkinga ne. So ibhenge picture kweya ngithathe ngame phone and then ngaya kwenye local printer around like Katlehong. So ngamtshela ukuthi
please say that again, sir.
Sorry?
Please say that again. We couldn't quite get that.
Okay, I had a picture, a phone, always installed. So I went to local printer, ngamtshela ukuthi ngicela angenzele isilamba emuva. I printed isithombe lesesami. And then kwayisikhathi mangisikhathi wenzele another guy, okuyifriend yami with the same lona.
With the same picture.
So ngifuna ukuthi seseyinkinga nalapho because isithombe isikhathi yimi ngasisa kuwe.
Okay. Shosa akazange ayithola nemvume yakho ukuthi ayisebenzise lesithombe sakho.
Asikhulumanga ukuthi kumele ayenze the same picture because mangibheka ngalendlela beyangakhona ukumenzela isithombe sakhe okayo.
So wena nje you only paid for ukuthi asprinte asifake ku jacket yakho ne?
Emuva.
Okay. Itumeleng siyabonga kakhulu kusishayela. Itumeleng basically says that he had his picture on his phone and he went to a local printer to ask that his image from his phone be printed on the back of his jacket. But a few days later, he realized that he used the very same picture and the printer used his picture for other people to reprint on other people's clothes. So he's basically asking, what should he do?
That's infringement.
Comes back to the same legit situation.
It's exactly the same thing. The printer has infringed his rights. He owns the copyright of that picture. I don't know the ins and outs legally of how he gave the picture to the printer. Was it on some kind of a stick? Did he email it to them? I don't know what the legal ramifications are of that, but he owns that picture. It's his face and he owns it, and he gave them no authorization or license to reproduce it beyond the purpose for which he paid them.
Since it's just an individual and it's not a corporate entity, can Itumeleng put in the value of that T-shirt that has been reused? How much can he claim? What kind of recourse or compensation?
Look, guys, I'm not saying people must now go and retire by suing companies for things. I think South Africans, we need to understand and look at this as an opportunity. It comes to simply to the point of this. If I'm a business and I see your picture and I can see a monetary benefit for it, I'll reach out to you and let you know that how I'm going to be using it, offer you compensation or ask you for simple credit and approval. Whether you give me your approval and whether I generate profit from it, it's up to us as a business. But as long as I got your approval, like he just found out that he saw his image there, that shows you that's a violation.
Yeah.
Same with Prudence, a violation. No one went to them firstly. Go to them firstly, get the approval. Once they approve it, screen grab the information. And whether you make 10 million rand or 1,000 rand, that's your prerogative, as long as you got the approval.
True.
But one feels quite sorry for Itumeleng because as a private citizen, what's he going to do? He's going to need to find a lawyer potentially to take this further, and will he? I mean, what will the cost of that be? You know, what's he in for financially? Would he have to then spend money to try and defend his copyright? It's an awkward situation for him.
Okay. I mean, we certainly cannot overemphasize the importance of reading the fine print and knowing your rights. Just as in closing, what's your final parting shot?
Read the T's and C's. If they're complicated and scary and they're written in tiny print and language that is confusing, ask someone to help put those into English for you, into normal plain language. Also to businesses, be decent about your T's and C's. Please put them in language that everyday citizens can understand.
Sure.
The goal is not to make it as hazy and impossible as you can. The goal is to try and be ethical as well, and make sure that people know what they're signing up for.
All right, Conrad?
You know, my advice is this is the fourth industrial revolution we're living in. This is social media. This is the age where we're opening up to connected planets. People are engaging across continents. And as South Africans, we need to see this as the opportunity. If people are utilizing your images, you can generate a profit from it. If you see an opportunity where you can market your face or your brand on a product or on a mug or on a digital billboard, capitalize and generate a profit from it. And it's about growing personal brands now. With regards to corporates in South Africa and abroad that are using citizens' information and images, all you got to do is engage with them. It's been done with news agencies, and build up your brand, most importantly.
All right. Conrad and Tiffany, you are stars. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
being part
having
of this
us.
conversation. It's an absolute pleasure. Well, that's how we come to the end of today's discussion. Sithemba ukuthi-ke sowucaciseke kangcono-ke kusebenzisa i-social media. Cabangisisa-ke kabanzi ngaphambi kokuba ubhale lowo mbono noma-ke ufaka sithombe. Remember, you are responsible for your own posts. Many thanks to our guests, Tiffany Malcolm and Conrad David, for enlightening us. Now, this show will repeat on Thursday at 11 p.m. From me, Simpiwe Ngongwane, and the rest of the team, have a blessed week. Cheers.
Timpolompo,